Welcome to Ckatta TechWorld. In this comprehensive video series, we're diving deep into Docker and its ecosystem. But before we jump into the exciting world of containers, I'd like to ask for your support. If you find this content valuable, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your peers who might benefit, leave a comment with any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future videos, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us and helps us create more content like this. So, let's get started with part 1 of Docker interview questions and answers. 1. What is Docker, and how does it work? Docker is a containerization platform that allows you to package applications and their dependencies into a standardized unit called a container. Containers are isolated from the host system and can run consistently across different environments. Docker works by leveraging features like container images, the Docker daemon, and the container runtime to create and run isolated application environments. 2. Explain the difference between a Docker image and a Docker container. A Docker image is a read-only template that includes an application and its dependencies. It serves as the blueprint for creating Docker containers. Containers, on the other hand, are instances of Docker images that can be executed. Each container runs in isolation and has its own file system and processes. 3. What are the advantages of using Docker for containerization? Docker offers several advantages, including portability. Containers can run consistently across different environments. Scalability. Containers can be easily scaled up or down. Isolation. Containers provide process and file system isolation. Efficient resource utilization. Containers share the host OS kernel. Rapid deployment. Containers can be created and started quickly. 4. How do you install Docker on various operating systems? The installation process varies depending on the operating system. On Linux, you can use the package manager. On Windows and Mac OS, you can use Docker Desktop, which provides a complete Docker environment for development. 5. What is a Docker file, and how is it used in Docker image creation? A Docker file is a text file that contains instructions for building a Docker image. It defines the base image, adds files and directories, sets environment variables, and runs commands to configure the image. You build an image from a Docker file using the docker build command. Example Docker file. From Ubuntu, latest. Run apt-get update and an apt-get install y nginx. cmd, nginx, g, daemon off. 6. What is Docker Hub, and how can you use it for Docker images? Docker Hub is a cloud-based registry service that allows you to store, share, and distribute Docker images. You can search for public images, or you can use it to host and share your own images. To use an image from Docker Hub, you can run Docker pull to download it to your local environment. 7. How can you run a Docker container from an image? You can run a Docker container from an image using the docker run command. For example, docker run dp80/80 nginx, latest. This command runs a container in detached mode, mapping port 80 of the host to port 80 of the container, using the nginx, latest, image. 8. What is the purpose of a Docker volume, and how do you create and use one? A Docker volume is a mechanism for persisting and sharing data between containers and the host. You can create a volume using the Docker volume create command and use it when running a container with the v flag. For example, Docker volume create mydata. Docker run versus mydata skeptical smiley face app, data my image. This creates a volume named mydata and mounts it to the app data path in the container. 9. How do you remove a Docker container and image? You can remove a Docker container with the docker erm command and an image with the docker rmi command. For example, docker erm my container. Docker rmi my image, tag. 10. Explain the concept of a Docker network and its types. A Docker network is a communication bridge between containers or between containers and the host system. Docker offers several types of networks, including bridge network, the default network that isolates containers on the same host. Host network. Containers share the host's network stack. Overlay network, used for communication between containers on different hosts in a Docker swarm cluster. MAC VLAN network, allows containers to have their own MAC and IP addresses. Custom networks. You can create custom networks with specific configurations. Thank you for joining us in part 1 of Docker Interview Questions and Answers. We hope you found these fundamental Docker concepts and explanations helpful as you embark on your containerization journey. If you have any questions or need further clarification on any of the topics we've covered, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments below. And remember, your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing keeps us motivated to create more content for you. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive into advanced Docker topics. Until then, happy containerizing, and we'll see you in the next episode.